Have you ever felt like a glass of water filled to the very brim? You are walking carefully, trying not to spill. But then, one tiny drop falls. Just one. And suddenly, everything spills over. A slow internet signal, a rude comment from a stranger, a cup of coffee gone cold. These are small things. But to you, in that moment, they feel like the end of the world. Why? Because you are not just carrying today. You are carrying yesterday, last week, and next month, all at the same time. This is the story of Arthur, and how we learned that the weight of the world depends less on gravity and more on how you hold it. Arthur lived in apartment 4B in a brick building in Chicago. Outside, the city was alive. The L train rattled on the tracks. Sirens wailed in the distance. The wind howled off the lake. But inside Arthur's head, it was louder. Arthur was 32. He worked as a freelance editor. His desk was a small island in a sea of clutter. Coffee cups with half-drunk liquid, tangled charger cables, sticky notes that had lost their stickiness. He was a good man. He worked hard. But he lived in a state of constant low-grade emergency. His phone was never more than 3 inches from his hand. Every notification sound, that sharp ding, made his shoulders tighten. He replied to emails within seconds, afraid that if he waited, the world would collapse. He treated his mind like a storage unit that was 99% full. There was no room for anything new, no room for a mistake, no room for a breath. If the grocery store line was too long, Arthur would feel rage bubbling in his throat. If his sister called him at a busy time, he would decline the call and feel guilty for hours. He was running a race where the finish line kept moving further away. It was a Friday evening in late November. The sun had set at 4:30 p.m., leaving the sky a bruised purple. Rain tapped aggressively against the window pane. Arthur had been staring at his laptop for 9 hours. His eyes burned. His back ached. Then an email arrived. It was from a client. "Arthur, we need to change the entire second chapter by Monday." Arthur stared at the screen. The cursor blinked. Blink. 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 He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just felt something inside him snap, like a dry twig stepping on a heavy boot. He slammed the laptop shut. The sound echoed in the quiet room. He put his head in his hands. "I can't do this," he whispered. "I just can't." He stood up, needing to pace, needing to escape his own skin. Just then, a soft knock came at his door. Tap, tap, tap. Arthur froze. He didn't want to see anyone. He wanted to disappear. But the knock came again. He opened the door. It was Mrs. Alvarez from apartment 4C. She was in her 70s, shrinking with age, but still sharp. She wore a thick wool cardigan and smelled of cinnamon tea and lavender detergent. "Arthur," she said, her voice scratchy but warm. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but my grandson sent me some packages, and I cannot get them down to the storage locker." Arthur looked at her. He wanted to say no. Every fiber of his exhausted body wanted to say no. But she looked small, and he was not a cruel man. "Sure, Mrs. Alvarez," he sighed. "I'll help." Her apartment was different from his. It was warm. It smelled of baking. A grandfather clock ticked slowly, rhythmically, not like the frantic digital clock on Arthur's phone. In the middle of her living room sat 2 boxes. One was small, maybe the size of a toaster. was taped shut with layers of duct tape. The other was huge, a cardboard moving box that came up to Arthur's waist. "Take the small one first, please," Mrs. Alvarez said. Arthur walked over. He bent down casually to pick it up with one hand. He tugged. It didn't move. He frowned. He used both hands and pulled. He grunted. The box was incredibly heavy. It felt like it was filled with lead bricks. "Old encyclopedias," Mrs. Alvarez explained. "Very dense paper." Arthur hugged the small box against his chest. His muscles strained. His face turned red. He walked to the elevator, down to the basement, and placed it in her locker. By the time he came back up, he was sweating. His arms shook. "That was heavy," he said, catching his breath. Mrs. Alvarez smiled. "Now the big one?" Arthur looked at the massive box. It was 3 times the size of the first one. If the small one was that heavy, this one would break his back. He rolled up his sleeves. He planted his feet wide. He braced his core. He bent down, took a deep breath, and pulled with all his strength. And he nearly fell backward. The box flew up into the air. It weighed nothing. It was light as a feather. Arthur stumbled, catching his balance, holding this giant box that felt like a cloud. He laughed, a genuine, confused laugh. "What is in this?" "Pillows," Mrs. Alvarez said, her eyes twinkling. "And winter coats, mostly air." He carried it down with one hand, whistling. It was easy. When he returned to her apartment, Mrs. Alvarez had poured 2 cups of tea. "Sit," she commanded gently. Arthur sat. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him tired again. "You look surprised." "By the big box," she said. "I braced by the big box," she said. "I braced myself for a struggle," Arthur admitted. "But it was empty." Mrs. Alvarez took a sip of her tea. She looked at him over the rim of the cup. "Arthur, do you know why the small box was so hard to carry? Because it was full of books." "No," she shook her head. "Because it was dense. There was no space inside. Everything was packed tight. No room for air." She pointed to the spot where the big box had been. That big box was huge. It took up more room. But inside, there was space. The pillows can breathe. The air can move. That is why it was light. Arthur stared at the steam rising from his cup. "You are like the small box, Arthur," she said softly. He looked up, startled. "I hear you through the wall sometimes," she said. "Pacing, sighing. I see you in the hallway. Your shoulders are up to your ears. You are packed tight. Every minute of your day is a brick. Every worry is a book." She leaned forward. "When you are full to the brim, even a feather landing on you feels like a hammer blow. But if you create space inside, you can carry a mountain, and it will feel like pillows." Arthur sat there for a long time. The clock ticked. Talk. Talk. For the first time in years, he didn't check his phone. That night, Arthur didn't go back to work. He didn't reply to the client. He lay on his floor in the dark. He practiced imagining his mind as a room. Right now, the room was hoarder's chaos, stacked high with worries about money, deadlines, the future, the past. Clear the floor, he thought. He breathed in. He imagined pushing the boxes to the walls, creating a center of empty space. The next morning, Saturday, he woke up. His instinct reached for the phone. He stopped. Create space. He left the phone in the bedroom. He made coffee. He sat by the window and watched the rain stop. He watched a pigeon land on the ledge. He did nothing for 20 minutes. He felt the tightness in his chest loosen. Just a fraction. Monday came. The client email was still there. The edit was still due. Arthur sat at his desk. He felt the old panic rising, the familiar tightening of the throat. I am the small box, he thought. I am dense. He stood up. He walked away from the screen. He stretched. He whispered, I am the big box. Soft. Open. Spacious. He sat back down. He didn't attack the work with panic. He approached it with breath. He worked for an hour. Then he walked. Then he worked again. The work was the same. The difficulty was the same. But the weight was different. Weeks passed. Arthur didn't become a monk. He didn't move to the mountains. He still lived in Chicago. The train still rattled. The client still demanded things. But Arthur was different. He created pillow time. 10 minutes in the morning. No phone during lunch. A walk without headphones in the evening. He was emptying the box, little by little. One evening, Mrs. Alvarez met him by the mailboxes. You look taller, she noted. Arthur smiled. I think I'm just carrying less. Good, she patted his arm. Keep the pillows. Throw out the bricks. If you are listening to this, and you feel like you are about to break, maybe the problem isn't that your load is too heavy. Maybe the problem is that you are too full. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to make a little room. Take a breath. Put the phone down. Look at the sky. Create space. Because when you have space inside you, the heavy things don't disappear. They just stop crushing you. And you realize you are strong enough to carry them after all.